Hey there and welcome to Home Drive-In and welcome to a new episode of Take 10. Not surprisingly, horror films are categorized as such for their tendency to feature, well, horrifying moments. I mean, after all, that's what we sign up for. Hence, there is a degree of preparation we can make when watching a horror movie since we can settle in and brace ourselves for a good scare. Yet every now and then we might sit down to watch a drama, fantasy or superhero film that, out of nowhere, shocks us with a moment so horrific that it completely catches us off guard. Today we tiptoe outside the world of horror to demonstrate that our beloved genre can sneak its way into films of all kinds, and as you'll learn from this list, not even your children are safe. So with that, I give you 10 horrific moments in non-horror films. I will limit this list to one film per franchise and only feature movies released theatrically, so this trouser-staining moment from the 80s V miniseries will sadly not be included. I will be discussing some major plot points, so consider this your spoiler warning moving forward. Chapters are provided, so use them if you need to. And if you do enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider hitting those subscribe and notification buttons. But for now, buckle up for some unexpected moments of terror and let's begin.
Beware the Wheelers.
What's a wheeler?
Number 10. The Wheelers, Return to Oz. Possibly proving the theory that everyone in Hollywood during the 1980s was high on coke is this bizarre and bleak follow-up to 1939's epic fantasy The Wizard of Oz. Not to say the original film didn't have its edgier moments, I mean, flying monkeys, anyone? This unofficial 1985 sequel seemed determined to scare its target audience half to death, with scenes of shock treatment, decapitated heads, and beloved characters turned into stone statues. And then there's the Wheelers. When Dorothy, this time played by a pre-The Craft Farouja Balk, is transported back to Oz, she finds the once colourful land in a state of decay and disrepair. She's soon confronted by a group of half-human, half-bicycle creatures known as the Wheelers that maniacally pursue Dorothy before she manages to escape. This early scene epitomizes the outlandish tone already established by the film, which has nonetheless achieved cult status due to its outright freakiness. While later scenes with the Wheelers dampened their intensity, even bordering on silly, our first introduction to these masked creatures quite possibly had 80s kids needing therapy.
You have to come out sooner or later, and when you do, we'll tear you into little pieces and throw you in the deadly desert.
Number 9. Vera Gets Mechanized, Superman 3. With Richard Pryor receiving second billing as computer genius Gus Gorman in this third Superman outing, you would expect some reprieve to balance its more tense moments. And that's precisely what he delivers in this rather slapstick sequel, which was a dip in quality from the first two films, but is still enjoyable and not without its edgier scenes. And we get to see evil Superman, which is just awesome.
Alright. Come on, you come on!
A new villain, Ross Webster, blackmails Gus into helping him gain control of the world's resources, leading to the construction of a seemingly invincible supercomputer. Our creepy moment occurs during a showdown with the Man of Steel when the computer transforms Webster's sister and co-conspirator Vera into a half-human, half-robot monstrosity. She then proceeds to attack the rest of her gang in a scene that, as an adult, looks incredibly goofy, but try telling that to those of us who bore witness to the scene back in 1983. It was more the moment leading up to Vera's rampage in which she's captured, restrained, screaming in horror, and becoming encased in metal that had most kids wetting their pants in the cinema.
Yes? Anybody here take shop class?
Number 8. Doc Ock Awakens, Spider-Man 2. While Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films are best known for their thrilling action, it appears the Evil Dead director couldn't help but make a brief return to his horror beginnings. Inarguably the best of Raimi's Spider-Man films, the teenage web-slinger now faces Dr. Otto Octavius, an albeit well-intentioned scientist who plans to create a sustainable energy source. Octavius attempts to demonstrate his fusion reactor using 4 powerful neural-controlled mechanical tentacles attached to his spine. When a malfunction occurs rendering Octavius unconscious, a team of surgeons attempt to remove the appendages that, now sentient, defend themselves violently. The rest of the scene is Raimi in full Evil Dead mode as the tentacles go on a rampage and violently attack the room of terrified doctors. Everything from the lighting, subjective camera work and fast cutting directly references Raimi's famous horror trilogy in a slapstick but no less horrifying display. And yes, there's even a chainsaw. Number 7. The Inferi, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. As with J.K. Rowling's books, by the time Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince hit cinemas, the series had truly crossed the line from children's fantasy to darkly themed adventure. And while film 6 is arguably the series' most comedic, it is also its darkest, as Harry, Ron and Hermione ready themselves for the inevitable resurgence of Voldemort, while also dealing with something even more terrifying: teen romance. Yet the scene in question sees Headmaster Dumbledore escorting Harry to a cave where they attempt to locate a Horcrux, a magical item containing a fragment of Voldemort's soul. Introduced with an unexpected jump scare, Harry soon finds himself surrounded by undead creatures known as the Inferi, one of which proceeds to pull him underwater. Dumbledore ultimately rescues Harry before they apparate back to Hogwarts, ending an eerie little scene that could almost compete with one of George Romero's efforts. The scene, however, horrifies for another reason, since Dumbledore insists that Harry force-feed him a lethal potion in order to obtain the aforementioned Horcrux. So I'll let you decide which part of this scene hits harder, the undead army that advances on our heroes, or the cries of a tortured old man begging for death.
Sorry, sir. Carrie! Feed me, Sarah! Feed me, Sarah! Feed me, Sarah! Feed me, Sarah!
Number 6. Sarah's Downfall, Requiem for a Dream. The horrific nature of addiction could classify Darren Aronofsky's gut punch drama about 4 lives succumbing to their respective vices as a true horror film. Sarah Goldfarb is a lonely widow and TV addict who, after being invited to appear on a reality show, sees her desperately trying to lose weight, leading to an addiction to diet pills. Sarah's declining mental state culminates in a hallucination sequence where everything from her aspirations, addictions, loneliness and cravings is mercilessly mocked and tormented. And then there's that sodding fridge. I'm gonna say it, and it's not an unpopular opinion, yet I would have ranked this higher had I not found Requiem for a Dream to be overly sensationalized. Yet don't get me wrong, it's a brilliant film, and the point it makes is crystal clear, and the scene in particular underlines the fragility and deluded state of Sarah's now fractured mind. And while the film's 3 younger characters also elicit some sympathy, they're far from innocent, unlike Sarah, whose self-destructive journey was only motivated by her need to be accepted. This moment appears to show all of Sarah's vices coming back to haunt her, with her addiction to sugar and television now overshadowed by something arguably more sinister. Number 5. Shelob's second attempt, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Yes, when choosing scary moments in Peter Jackson's first Middle-earth trilogy, most people tend to pinpoint Bilbo's unexpected grab for the One Ring in Fellowship. But I'm not going to do that, since yours truly just may be a little arachnophobic, so my pick goes straight to Shelob's pursuit of Frodo outside her cave in The Return of the King. Whether you watch the theatrical or extended versions, the editing of this scene is masterful, as we cut from the raging battle at Minas Tirith to Frodo's slow approach to Mount Doom. Having escaped Shelob's lair, Frodo presses forward as an overhead shot reveals to us, the audience, but not to our hero, that the giant spider is still in quiet pursuit. In contrast to Shelob's first attack, this moment is almost entirely devoid of sound, as the arachnid silently stalks the oblivious hobbit, amplifying the suspense to an almost unbearable level. I can also vouch that, having been lucky enough to see this film 3 times at the cinema, that this scene prompted an almost identical reaction from the audience every single time. Shelob ultimately strikes, yet Sam arrives to save the day in a standoff with the 8-legged giant, relieving us from the impeccably designed tension of this horrific moment. And you've just gotta love Sam.
Let him go, you filth.
Okay. So you had a dream about this place. Tell me.
Number 4. Winky's Diner, Mulholland Drive. David Lynch films are rightly regarded as surrealistic nightmares, and his 2001 magnum opus Mulholland Drive explores the dark tragedy of a young woman's pursuit of love and stardom. To explain the plot is an almost impossible task, yet it follows aspiring actress Betty, who comes to Hollywood in search of fame, where she soon befriends mysterious amnesiac Rita. However, an early scene introduces 2 men seemingly unrelated to the central narrative, whose 5 minutes of screen time conclude with a jump scare worthy of any horror film. Set in a diner, one man tells the other, presumably his therapist, about a recurring nightmare featuring an ominous figure he believes lurks at the back of this particular restaurant. Encouraging the man to face his fears, the therapist coaxes him outside, where every detail of the dream just told begins to occur, until ultimately faced with the hideous figure he'd described. In typical Lynchian style, everything about this scene unfolds like a living nightmare, from the randomness of the 2 unnamed characters to the sound design and jarring camera work. The scene's relevance to the story has been debated for years, but it firmly establishes Mulholland Drive as a dark and twisted puzzle box of a movie.
Okay! Now I gotcha!
Number 3. Emil takes an unexpected bath, Robocop. Nothing encapsulates the over-the-top violence of Paul Verhoeven's 1987 dystopian film Robocop than the grisly death of one of its antagonists. When Detroit finds itself overrun by crime, Officer Murphy is transferred to its local police force, which is now firmly under the control of the corrupt Omni Consumer Products Corporation. When Murphy is presumably killed by a gang of thugs, he's transformed into the titular cyborg, who becomes a beacon of hope for the crime-filled city. At the film's climax, the ruthless gang locates Murphy in a steel mill, where right-hand man Emil attempts to run him down, yet instead drives headfirst into a vat of toxic chemicals. The aftermath is basically what you'd expect, as the hapless criminal emerges from his toxic bath, howling in agony as his body slowly liquefies. Effects creator Rob Bottin was inspired by 1977's The Incredible Melting Man, and instructed his team to make actor Paul McCrane look like his skin was, quote, melting off his bones like marshmallow sauce. Despite the satirical nature of the film, the scene is no less horrific, and no doubt left a lasting impact on those of us who may have watched Robocop a little too early in life. Interesting side note, actor Ray Wise had actually not seen McCrane in full makeup until filming his encounter with Emil, prompting this genuinely authentic response.
Don't touch me, man!
It's a thuggy ceremony. They're worshipping Kali.
Number 2. Thuggy Ceremony, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Yes, I know this one's predictable, and I was going to pick another grisly moment from the Indiana Jones films, because trust me, there's heaps of them. Yet this scene must be acknowledged as the moment that placed the franchise firmly into the horror genre. Set a year before Raiders of the Lost Ark, this prequel follows Indy on a quest to recover a sacred rock, presumed to have restorative powers, stolen from a dying village. With a child sidekick and this insufferable Scream Queen in tow, they arrive at Pankot Palace, where an evil cult practices child labour and engages in bloodthirsty rituals. The cult's true nature is introduced when High Priest Mola Ram hosts a human sacrifice, lowering a helpless victim into a pit of molten lava, in a moment that had kids terrified and parents outraged. As with The Empire Strikes Back, George Lucas wanted his second Indiana Jones film to be a much darker affair, influenced by the fact that he and director Steven Spielberg were experiencing relationship breakups at the time. Which is deliberately referenced in this particular scene, considering that before his lava bath, the sacrificial victim literally has his heart torn from his chest. While Spielberg may have disowned the film, Temple of Doom's more tense moments, and this scene in particular, have rendered it as my most rewatched entry of the franchise. Which probably says all sorts of weird things about me. And since so many films have made a habit of throwing in a horrific moment where we least expect it, here are a few honourable mentions.
Oh no, they're forming.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
I can take a joke, but this has gone too far. Tell our little guy to turn us around, won't ya?
Now I am gonna be sick.
Number 1. Nuclear Nightmare. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It's a popular choice for a list like this, and for very good reason, since this moment in James Cameron's superior Terminator sequel presents a terrifying look at a not-so-implausible reality. The original Terminator involves a cyborg sent back in time to kill Sarah Connor, whose unborn son is fated to lead a resistance against an AI defense system that will ultimately launch a nuclear war. And in this day and age, nothing about that sentence has me the slightest bit concerned.
Duck and cover.
This 1991 follow-up has Sarah and her son now under the protection of a reprogrammed Terminator, while the trio face off with an even deadlier foe. And one of the greatest villains committed to film ever, but I digress. Terminator 2's most horrific scene occurs during a moment of reprieve for our characters in a dream sequence where Sarah envisions the grim annihilation she knows is imminent. Standing outside a playground, she frantically attempts to warn a group of women and children of an impending nuclear strike that, once launched, offers what can only be described as a vision of hell. Buildings are leveled, cars become airborne, trees snap like twigs, while innocent people, including children and Sarah herself, are reduced to dust. Cameron masterfully uses contrast for maximum impact by juxtaposing the innocence of children with Armageddon and the deafening roar of nuclear fire with an even more deafening silence. And that does conclude our list. Thank you so much for watching this video. Can you think of any other horrific moments that ambushed movies outside the horror genre? These were just my picks, but I'd love to hear what you can add to the discussion, so feel free to leave me a comment. And while you're down there, if you want to like, share, subscribe, and tap that notification button, that'd be awesome. I will be back soon with a new video, but until then, please take care of yourself. I'll see you next time.